Welcome
to Shamba Shape Up.
We have traveled all over East Africa to find hard-working farmers.
We want to celebrate them while giving them the knowledge they need,
so they can adapt and make their farms more productive even while the climate changes.
We want to support them to get better yields and increase their income.
We will see how farmers can benefit from our experts' advice
while learning from each other in so many ways.
Join us on these journeys and share in the farmers' experiences
on the Shamba Shape Up Safari.
Welcome to Shamba Shape Up.
This week we are in Baringo.
And we are doing a Shamba Shape Up special on rangelands.
Rangelands are the arid and semi-arid areas that make up around 80% of Kenya's landmass.
Rangelands vary in size. Some are as small as 50 kilometers squared.
But most are huge. Some in the arid desert areas of Turkana, Marsabit and Wajir, for example, are over 5,000 kilometers squared.
Rangelands are mostly community lands. One of the reasons they are so important is because pastoralists use them for grazing livestock.
Most of Kenya's red meat comes from areas like this, so they are a vital resource for the whole country. Let's go find out about them.
So join us
on Shamba Shape Up. Rangelands are important, but they are also under threat. Over the years, pastoral livelihoods and land management practices have changed. And now, climate change is only making matters worse.
So, we've come to find out about a project that's helping to restore the environment and make rangeland pastoralism successful again. It's called PRM, Participatory Rangeland Management.
PRM helps pastoralists better manage their rangelands. For pastoralists to reach their production goals, it's critical to help pastoralist institutions to improve rangeland management.
PRM is carried out by residents and users of the rangeland themselves with the help of local government or an NGO.
One of the key aspects of PRM is setting up a rangeland management agreement that involves local pastoralist institutions as well as the local government. Sometimes, this means that a formal agreement needs to be made that outlines commonly owned rangelands.
To help us understand all these, I've come to meet Ken Otieno, the Executive Director of the Resource Conflict Institute, Reconcile, an NGO helping implement PRM. Although I'm not quite sure where Ken is. Part of the problem of restoring degraded rangelands is a spread of invasive species, like this cactus, smothering the native plants. PRM aims to bring these degraded lands back to full health. There's Ken. Now, I want to ask him to take us through the PRM story from the beginning. So now, what are rangelands?
Rangelands are these dry spaces. They support pastoralism as the main livelihood system.
Why are they important?
They're important, one, because in Kenya, 80% is basically dry areas, and they support a production system, which is livestock. And two, they are also important for wildlife conservation and management. They demonstrate the total ecological coexistence, where you'll find livestock, you'll find people all together.
What are the benefits of rangeland management so far?
Very many. One, you'd see that they can rehabilitate degraded rangelands. Now communities have learned that they can remove all these invasive species. They can do reseeding, have more grass in places that they've identified. But also farmers have identified the importance of collective work, but also taking up as individual farmers so that they do it in their small private farms, but also look at the bigger well-being of rangelands, because rangelands consists of livestock, people, and environment.
Are the communities in harmony now?
Management together in a planned way allows cohesion and also peace and security, especially in places where there's a lot of competing interests.
To implement PRM, there must be a local pastoralist institution responsible for planning and overseeing management of the rangeland. an existing local pastoralist institution can be selected, or if there is none, a committee is formed. For this to work well, the committee must represent the community and be respected by everyone. Now we'll meet up with Ken later, but first let's find Carol. She's been meeting with a group of local pastoralists at the homestead of Florence and Rubens to find out how to develop a management plan.
That's right, Tony. Florence and Rubens are part of a local pastoralist management committee. Now, to draw up a management plan, the first step must be to understand all the resources the rangeland has to offer. To do this, the pastoralist institution maps the rangeland to know which resources are where, and then what value each resource has to the people using the rangeland. This helps them to plan how to use these resources. This information can now be easily shared across the community with pastoralists in neighboring areas and with government or other stakeholders. Quite how they are going to do this, I'm not so sure. All they seem to have here are these leaves and cut branches and this pile of old stones. But fear not. To help explain everything, we have Irene Alo Mukalo, who is also from Reconcile.
It looks like you're preparing for a riot. Irene, I can see stones, I can see thorns, I can see...
No.
What's happening?
We are having these materials because they'll be helping us to map our resources, to understand our area. We agree together to identify, for instance, if we have lakes, what exactly do we want to use to identify a lake with? If we have those blue strings, we know water is depicted in blue color.
Yes.
So can we use that to show our rivers? We have the ashes here.
All right.
So this ash will be using to show the boundaries of the space within which this particular conservancy is found. Now, these rocks will represent the hills that we have around here and the caves.
Okay.
And then you see we have some leaves around here. So the leaves will signify either forest, vegetation, a swamp. So we'll be using this to show different resources that we have in the area.
Wow, this is very clever.
Yeah. And you're going to do the map right here so that we are able to have every person involved.
All right.
Yes.
So are we ready to start the work?
Yes. We shall draw the map of Baringo Community Conservancy. Our conservancy covers 5 locations. We shall try to identify all resources we have covering the entire conservancy.
Now, as the group begins to map out their communal lands, I wanted to ask Rubens and Florence why this project was needed.
The land was fair, facial erosion, and we did not know the resources that we have. We had the indigenous animals, cattle, horse, because pasture was not there.
You had soil erosion and you had problems with pasture.
Yes.
Florence, are there others? Drought.
Scarcity of water.
All right. So Irene, why is it important to map out our resources?
One, we get to understand what is it that we have as a community that would sustain our livelihoods. These resources are directly linked to the livelihoods of the people. Two, this mapping exercise only happens at the beginning of this particular process. We define, for instance, the grazing areas, okay? We get to identify where do we have the watering points, where do we have the salt licks, the different key resources that inform our livelihoods. And in doing that, then it further helps us to identify what are the challenges that are also affecting or impacting on these resources in a manner that they're either getting degraded or we are losing some of these resources. So it is important that we also get to understand that. And 3, this mapping exercise also helps us to walk through planning, sharing of resources as we move along.
All right, good.
Very interesting. And look, I can see the river going in over there. Now I wonder, who decides which resources are important?
The community is also represented by different groups. We have the youth, we have the elderly, we have the women, we have the children, and all these people have a role and an interest that they also represent in this use and access of resources. And so it is important that all this is brought together. And that is why we are having this participatory process of mapping and identifying these resources so that we get to understand the different players around and within the community.
All right. Yeah. And I love that part, participatory, involving. Everyone is integrated, you are involved.
Yes.
So it's for all of us.
Yes.
So when the map is finished, the local pastoralist institution creates a rangeland management plan. This includes the grazing plan, the land use plan,
rules and bylaws to enforce the management plan, and ways to restore the degraded land. So you know what's good, Tony? The management plan uses the pastoralists' local knowledge and practices that have been used over the years. So they get facilitators from NGOs and the local government to help them adapt this plan to the problems of climate change and land degradation.
It's important all sections of the community are heard and can play a part in forming the management plan. So everyone's interests are represented. In the past, women, for instance, have not been included. Now, how important is it that their voices are heard?
Women also play a critical role, and this is why we need to involve them. They are also users of these resources. They know the resources where they are, and the different seasons within which you can also place these resources. And so building on their knowledge also enhances the management of these resources. So they would tell you that, no, we don't want these trees destroyed because we can use them to get our medicine, we can use them to get fruits for our children during these seasons, you see. Then this is information that comes in handy, that helps us to define how we are going to use these resources and share the resources among the different users.
Right.
I'll give, for example, a tree could represent different uses to the different users. One may look at it as from a man who has his cattle and his goats and he wants them fed. He looks at it and he sees, well, this is fodder. A woman looks at the same tree and my children need to feed, so this is firewood. So these are different, interests that we have around these resources, and hence the need to negotiate and agree on how to manage these resources so that we also get to meet the different interests.
We thought we are less, we cannot do like men, but now we can also work together.
Now, once we've done this map on the ground, we transfer this to a chart. That becomes a permanent record of this process. So from that chart, we'll always be having discussions, because these are a process that is informed by a lot of dialogue and conversation with the community.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now the whole community can benefit from these shared resources.
Stay with us, because there's more to come after the break. Welcome back to Shamba Shaper.
This week we have a special on Participatory Rangeland Management, or PRM. That is, how to manage arid and semi-arid rangeland areas.
Yes, but before we find out more, let's first check what's the weather is going to be like for this coming week. I'm holding an umbrella because it might rain.
And I'm holding an umbrella because it's too hot. What's your weather like?
Let's check it out on the weather forecast.
Hello and welcome to the Shamba Shape-Up Farming News for Kenya. In the coming week, most of the rains will be in the central parts of Kenya, the Rift Valley, Western and Nyanza. Northeastern, Upper Eastern and Lower Eastern in Kenya, extending to cover the coastal counties of Lamu, Mombasa and Kilifi, will receive no rain or very little rain of less than 5 millimeters. Marsabit to Isiolo, spanning across Kitui and Makueni, will also get very little rain of less than 5 millimeters. However, some parts of Garissa, Tana River and the coastal regions of Kwale and Taita Taveta may get little to moderate amount of rainfall ranging from 15 to 50 millimeters. Central Kenya and counties around Mount Kenya will receive moderate to high amount of rain ranging from 25 to 140 millimeters. This includes Meru, Tharaka, Nyandarua, Nyeri, Murang'a, Kirinyaga and Kiambu. Nairobi and Machakos will receive little amount of rain of up to 15 millimeters. Rift Valley counties will have little to moderate amount of rain ranging from 5 to 50 millimeters from Turkana, West Pokot, Baringo, Trans Nzoia, Marakwet, Uasin Gishu, Bomet, Narok and Nakuru. Western and Nyanza region counties such as Bungoma, Busia, Kakamega, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay and Kisii will see moderate rainfall ranging from 15 to 50 millimeters. Farmers, the cold season is setting in after the rains and your chicken will lay fewer eggs this time. Keep your chicken warm, but importantly, change or supplement their feed with a higher than usual protein diet in order to maintain high egg production. Exposure to cold suppresses your immune system. Protect yourself, keep warm, Eat high-energy foods such as ugali, sweet potatoes, as well as fruits such as oranges, lemons, and lime to boost your vitamin C levels so you can keep working in your farm. If you've planted fodder trees such as Caliandra and Lucina, it is recommended that you cut the young trees when they are about 2 meters down to 1 meter. This will encourage lateral growth and lead to higher yield. Aim to harvest every 3 to 4 months for the best nutritious fodder. For more information and tips, get in touch with Shamba on 0711 082 606. I am Brenda. See you next week on the Shamba Shape Up Farming News for Kenya.
As we found out earlier, under the Participatory Rangeland Management process, or PRM, all the community must play an active role in decision making. And as women make up half the community, their voice is essential. One of the activities the women have taken up as a result of this increased involvement is honey production. So I thought I'd take a look and see how it works in practice. Irene Alo Mukalo works for the NGO Reconcile and has played an important role in helping the women take part in community management, while at the same time building livelihoods. She's taking us to meet the Kaptombes Women's Group. They not only make gourds and necklaces for sale, but since PRM was introduced, they now run their own honey business. I want to hear from them all about their experiences.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You see, I know how to say hello. Nice. So what are you doing?
Tunashona makibuyu.
Good work. Is there anything else you do?
Asali, tunafurahianga asali. Hii area yetu ni dry kweli. Hatuna kitu kingine tunaweza toa kwa area yetu kama sio asali, kama sio mbuzi. Hatuna kitu kingine tunatoa. Najua asali hakuna pesa mingi. Tunashukuru Reconcile sababu alitupea msinga 6. Sasa tunaelekea kuvuna. Anatusaidia tukiuza, tuna watoto wetu wa shule, anatupea maneno ya chakula ya nyumbani. Ikibaki pesa ikivaki tunaweka kwa account kwa mwaka moja. Tunachukuanga dividend.
That is very nice, and I've heard you talk about Reconcile.
Tunashukuru Reconcile na PRM sababu wametusaidia kama sisi wa mama wa Kaptombes Women Group.
So it seems you've really empowered these ladies. So tell us, where did it start?
PRM is a project that looks at rangelands management. And one of the goals of PRM was to enhance women involvement and engagement in decision-making, governance, and management of the rangeland resources.
Why is it so important that women are involved?
Women have never been put on decision-making platforms. And that is critical because we always say that if I'm not sitting on the table, I'll not really have the opportunity to tell my story. But if I'm sitting on the table, then I'll tell my story and people will hear my story. And so then it became very important that women are indeed involved in the committees. Because the committees then make decisions around here. The committees decide on how to distribute resources. Because when we get money, for instance, funding the conservancy, the decision is made by the committee. How do we distribute this money? So if we don't have women representation in these committees, then they're always left out.
Okay, but why are women's voices so important in the committees? What's wrong with just having the men in charge?
The gender dynamics and the gender perspectives are different. Women will see resources from a different angle. When they look at probably a goat, they think of milk, they think of the babies and how the babies will get milk. And in the pastoral setup, it is the role of women particularly to take care of the young animals.
Yes.
So if that is the case, then it is important for them to understand the natural resources that are also contributing to make these animals healthy. The other thing is that women are also using these resources for purposes of ensuring that their families are getting their daily needs. So for them, a forest has enough provisions. So I'll get my fruits there, I'll get firewood, so all these things. So the role of women in the management of these resources is very critical.
Sisi wa mama sasa tumeingia chenda, kama kamiti sasa tuko kama chenda, sababu zamani any mkutano yote ile nafanyika kwa crown hapa chini au kwa chenda. Sasa sai PRM vile alifika, sisi wa mama tukakumbukwa tuingie tenda.
So now as women, you're allowed to make decisions, you're allowed to sit at the table with the men. Is that what you're trying to say? And is it a good thing?
Tuko na sauti, hata sai kwa tukienda sasa kitu kama nini, tunasema hata sisi, lazima tuko mbele. Sababu sasa kama tumekumbukwa, hata sisi tuko na sauti. Tunafurahia.
How did the men take it?
You know, since PRM came in, as women, we had something to give to our men. We can even assist them to pay school fees. Yeah, because we have some money.
If he puts 20 shillings, you can put in 30 shillings and make it 50.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
It is a very good thing. They are happy now because before they were not happy.
Wow! It's fantastic that the women are involved. So, what are the benefits of PRM?
Well, as the community puts in place the management plan, the first results will be an increase in grass production, which means grass will be available during the dry season. And both leads to more and consistent milk production and marks the beginning of restoring the degraded rangelands.
It is important to involve neighboring pastoralists so they are aware of the management plan. Everyone will now know where and when rules and bylaws will be enforced, which helps to prevent conflicts over grazing. Now, let's see how the management plan has been implemented here in Baringo. Pastoralist Rubens will tell us all about it. Many people keep cows and goats. More and better pastures means livestock will grow bigger and fetch a better price. And this pasture looks great. Let's rejoin Ken and find out the secret to Rubens' success.
So Ruben.
Yes.
What are you inspecting here?
I'm inspecting my grass, so it is ready for harvest.
Is it ready?
It is ready.
This is great news. Ruben has already started cutting the grass in the next field and looks like he's going to get a bumper harvest. Now, the first secret is the type of grass used.
Ken, what kind of grass is this?
Suncrass.
Yeah.
Where did you hear about suncrass?
Reconcile.
Yes.
Through PRM.
From Ken here?
Yeah.
You seem very happy about this.
Very happy indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, my animals are not going far. Now, when I cut this one, I belt, and then my animals get, and then that's conserved soil. This place was eroded before.
So it's helping in soil erosion and feeding your animals?
Feeding my animals. And also this one is resistant. It is rot tolerant to the hot area like this hassle areas, not like the others. So it is only when it rains, it regenerates, and it can last for the next 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
And it's very appetizing.
You can see them smiling.
Yeah,
it's very
smiling,
appetizing.
yeah, they appetizing, and the milk production goes
The milk production also go high up.
Yes.
The second secret to Rubens' success is his use of temporary fencing. It allows the grass to grow without being eaten by livestock. But it's not a permanent fence, as commonly used to mark private land.
I use the local materials.
So you use the local materials that are readily available to be able to fence your land.
Yes.
So what Ruben has done here is very encouraging. These invasive species which they've removed from the bigger rangelands and just use that as natural fencing. And it's also important because you shift these fences sometimes, especially for grazing. It comes handy, but if you put, this permanent fence, you'll be doing something else. You'll be coming up with more or less like a ranch.
Without these temporary barriers, livestock can overgraze the land. This means the grasses won't grow back and the soil will get ruined, as we can see here in this overgrazed land just a few kilometers outside Rubens' homestead. Instead, Rubens removed the invasive cactus plant and used them as a fence. That's great, as it helps indigenous plants regrow and provides cover for the soil.
My focus and dream is to see a functional, healthy rangelands in this area. So in other words, more livelihoods opportunities created within the rangelands and in a sustainable manner.
I'm very happy.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Tony, that was very interesting. What do you think of PRM?
Well, Carol, I can see it is important to keep track of how things are going and to revise the map and the plans as things change. Because as a local pastoralist institution puts in place a management plan, new options become possible. The trick is to begin with simple steps. The more advanced work can come later.
I see, Tony. So, for example, you begin with a simple traditional grazing plan. That means the land is divided into several sections by the season. So let's say we have section 1, section 2, and section 3. You let all the livestock graze in section 1. In the meantime, section 2 and 3 are left to rest and let the grass regrow. That way, you increase forage production.
Exactly. Then you can add more grazing divisions that span the land.
So, in summary, what are the major outcomes of PRM? Caro, you've looked into this. Tell us.
Well, Tony, some key benefits are 1. Improved livelihoods from increased livestock and milk production. 2. As a result, better nutrition for families. 3. A healthier and more stable environment thanks to reversing land degradation. 4. Wildlife conservation. 5. Less conflicts over resources. And 6. Good size of herd that helps stop land degradation.
Wow, that's very impressive.
So, if you're a pastoralist in a rangeland area, this PRM system looks like a very promising option.
It certainly does.
See you next week on Shamba Shape Up.